So, hello everybody. Today I have a privilege of talking with Kadin McElwain, who is 22 years old and who is studying in college. And Kadin is so talented. He is also a public speaker and a writer, and he has published a lot of articles and media for the good cause of raising autism awareness.
Yes, ma'am.
And Kadin is on the autism spectrum. And as a behavior analyst who works with young kids on the spectrum and their families, I'm often asked by parents, how can I navigate this journey? What does the future hold for my child? So, this interview is to answer this question. We are going to learn what autism feels like, what are the challenges as well as the triumphs, and how we can actually support and teach individuals on the spectrum in the most compassionate way possible. So, Kaden, what are you studying in college?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I'm an autistic writer, public speaker, activist, and recently, micro influencer, I would say. I have over 1,000 followers on my Facebook page, which I'll tell you about after this. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old, and during my life, like as soon as I was diagnosed, my capabilities were questioned. To be fair, this was a different time. We didn't have much of the research we do about autism now, but my parents have been 100% supportive of me on this journey, giving me occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA therapy.
Mhm.
So thanks to them, I was able to prove those people wrong, graduate high school early while working two jobs during the pandemic. In
Wow.
college, where I'm studying communications, I was able to get five consecutive dean's lists in a row, going on six right now. And I was able to do all that while starting a movement to bring autism to the mainstream because it's commonly a cause, as you know, not given the proper attention it deserves, especially for adults.
Wow. Amazing. So, when did you learn about your autism diagnosis and how did you feel about that?
I'll be honest, of course, I was 2 years old back then. I didn't understand it fully. I couldn't even talk yet, but I think I learned officially when I was 9, 10 years old. And at first, I had a misunderstanding of it. I thought it was a curse. I wanted to cure it, even though autism doesn't have a cure. It has ways you can help manage it. But as I got older and more mature, I learned that autism is what makes me me. If it wasn't for autism, I wouldn't have a passion for advocacy like I do. I wouldn't have a special interest in music like I do. And I wouldn't be able to take my academics seriously.
Mhm. Did you mention that you have an interest in music?
Yes, ma'am, I do, both playing and listening to.
That's wonderful. What kind of music do you listen to?
I'm a music connoisseur. I listen to all genres, but a couple of artists I've been getting into recently are Jelly Roll and Teddy Swims.
Cool. I like country music.
Yeah, same.
Very good. Okay, so you mentioned that you got speech therapy, occupational therapy, and ABA therapy.
Yes, ma'am. And physical therapy.
Do you remember the timeline when you started receiving these therapies?
I honestly don't, but I would assume the speech therapy started when I was two, ended when I said my first word at 6 years old. The occupational and physical therapy were all in elementary school, and the ABA was during my high school years and when I was a teenager and starting to think about the future.
I see. Okay. Do you remember if at any point you needed to use like an AAC device or
I honestly don't remember that.
okay. Yeah. So at 2 years old, how did they teach you to communicate?
Hmm. I think from what I remember, me and my big sister had a secret language where I would verbalize something, well, vocalize, said, of course, and my sister would know exactly what that meant and tell our mother.
That is amazing. Well, it sounds like they started teaching you sounds, imitating sounds first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what do you wish people know about autism that they might not understand?
I mainly wish people knew that autism is a spectrum. There's no one size fits all, and there's most certainly no either higher spectrum where you're incredibly intelligent and a protege like Rain Man, or lower spectrum where you can't walk, can't talk, and you have to be taken care of the rest of your life. Autism affects people in many different ways.
Mhm.
For me, I have trouble with the social stuff and interpersonal communication. In fact, just last week, I finally met someone and made a friend, and I've been waiting on that for 9 years.
Mhm.
Yet, I take my academics seriously and have a special interest in music. So I wish people knew that autism was a spectrum. There's
Yeah,
no one size fits all, and there's no stereotypes. That's what I mainly wish people would approach autism as. Nothing stereotypical, just maybe this person needs a little bit of hope, maybe this person needs a lot of hope.
yeah. So let's say when you mentioned that when you started out, when you first got your autism diagnosis, you were young, you were only 2 years old, right? So at that young age, parents often don't understand like what is it that my child needs. They probably kids at that young age probably need a combination of several things to help them improve several skills at once. The first skill that they need to improve is communication.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so what are the things that you face as challenges being on the spectrum and how do you overcome them?
Like I said, it's mainly the social stuff and the personal skills, not understanding facial expressions or emotions, that kind of thing. Recently, like I said, I made a friend who's also on the spectrum, and I've been trying to hang out with him at least once a week, and I've been joining a few support groups for autism and adults with autism.
So you joined some of the Facebook groups?
Zoom, actually. There's one group in particular called Grasp that meets every Monday that I've been going to weekly. The group I'm in is specifically for autisms, but they also have groups for teenagers. They have a women's group. They have a group for parents and caregivers.
Mhm.
They they're trying to expand as much as possible.
So when life feels stressful or overwhelming to you, how do you cope?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't know how to properly regulate my emotions, especially in stressful situations such as getting a bad test grade. In fact, during my sophomore year of college, I had an emotional breakdown multiple times over a math grade I was getting to the point where I was puking and having fainting episodes. But after going to therapy and learning how to talk with people about my emotions, I would say that in the sense of coping, I tell myself it's okay, use self affirmations, and I talk with my parents about what's going on. It's
Mhm.
important to talk about your emotions, not just for people with autism, but for all people.
You mentioned that you had ABA therapy at the age of 14.
Yes, ma'am.
What areas was the focus?
It was mainly for planning for the future and regulating my emotions. During my teenage years, I was even worse when it came to regulating my emotions. I don't want to go into detail because it's personal.
Right.
Uh, Thanks to the ABA, I was able to grow out of that and focus exclusively on planning for the future, and that included job interview prep. In fact, the ABA therapy is what helped me get my first two jobs.
That's wonderful. Do you mind sharing with me what the two jobs are?
They were Hardee's and Dunkin' Donuts.
That's cool. Did you enjoy working?
Hardee's I enjoyed, Dunkin' Donuts not so much, just because there was a toxic workplace environment, more specifically one manager that pretty much ruined it for me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that experience. But I mean, at least it's an experience, right? Whenever you work at, just think of it as a learning opportunity. That's how I view life.
Yeah, that's exactly the same way I view it. Everything's a learning opportunity.
Cool. So you said that you were one of your coping strategies is to be open about your emotions and your feelings. Are there any other strategies that help you cope? I wonder if you ever experienced, being let down. People say no to you for a job opportunities or something like that.
I go for walks as often as I can. Walking definitely helps me out when I'm in emotional periods like that.
Gotcha. Going for a walk. I do that too.
Yeah, I love it. I can't do it as often as I like because it's a winter month here in Ohio. In fact, just the other day we were in negative temperatures.
Mhm.
But whenever I can and whenever weather's nice, I like to go for a walk.
Is it snowing over there where you are?
I'm in Painesville, Ohio.
Okay, gotcha. Ohio.
It's not snowing currently, but earlier this week it was.
Okay. So, what advice would you give teachers, parents, and therapists on how to approach people with autism in the most compassionate way and how to teach them compassionately?
It's funny you should say that. I actually have an article that's published on Ann Kennedy's website about 3 ways teachers can make their classrooms comfortable for autistic students. And the main thing I emphasize throughout it is promote inclusion in the classroom and make the student as comfortable as possible. Now more than ever, it's important to spread those messages of inclusion and kindness and respect, especially in a country that's quite frankly falling apart at the seams and has lost its will and purpose when it comes to spreading kindness.
So, you mentioned that making the classroom as comfortable as possible for kids with autism. What would that look like?
I would say mainly spreading kindness and urging kindness among students
Mhm.
means no matter what situation they're going through, and providing sensory friendly learning options could definitely be a huge one. And most importantly, making sure the IEP is properly followed and not used as a pawn. I remember a time in middle school where my IEP was cut completely because I was doing well academically. And
Oh,
my parents fought long and hard to get that back because
yeah.
the schools should have understood that autism isn't necessarily just academic struggles. If anything, people with autism do extremely well academically. It's the social stuff too.
So, how have your family and friends support you in this journey?
Like I said, my parents fought long and hard to get me the resources I needed. And particularly with the IEP incident, they wrote to every single autism organization in Tennessee, which is where the school was located, and a state senator to get that back because they knew how much I needed it. And my classmates were extremely supportive and extremely kind. They knew I was on the spectrum. So while I was annoying and a bit of a teacher's pet and a tattletale, they didn't bother getting too mad at me. They cussed me out, but there was no full-on bullying. There were a couple bullies, quite frankly. That's just life in general. Who hasn't been bullied in high school? But mostly, a lot of people I've interacted with were kind
Why did they cut your IEP?
because I was doing well academically. But the schools have realized, like I said, that autism isn't necessarily academic struggles; it's social struggles mainly.
Okay, so back then, what were your social struggles?
The same as now, not understanding emotions, not being able to interact with people in person unless they're on the spectrum, or at least not understanding how to properly interact with people. But back in middle school, I also had some emotional struggles too.
Mm. So what happened then?
I, it's personal. I'd rather not talk about that, but they were the same as when I was a teenager.
Okay, no problem. Some clients, on the spectrum, they can talk, they're very highly verbal, they have strong academic skills, but they struggle with socialization. Why is that, do you think?
I absolutely do think I, and mainly up until recently, I wasn't willing to interact with my tribe, other people who were on the spectrum like me, because I didn't know how that would go. But when I interacted with the groups and that person I told you about, they were just like me.
Mhm. When you were struggling socially, how did you feel when you entered, let's say, a group of people and you wanted to initiate a conversation?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know how to make small talk either, which is what initiating a conversation is pretty much. And I was nervous going into that situation, and I was hurt by being rejected.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How do you approach people nowadays? How do you start a conversation?
Mainly with my parents, I say, "How's your day?" And with that individual I told you about, we just start talking about random stuff.
Mm-hmm. I bet you talk about your music interest.
Yeah, I do actually.
Cool. The next question is still in the relationship and support section. Is there something that your parents and your friends done that really makes an impact, a positive impact in your life?
Just being there for me overall has made a positive impact. I don't know what I'd do without my parents.
Oh, yeah. Do you have five younger siblings?
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. So how do you feel about living in a big family?
I love it.
Do you get along with your siblings?
Very well. I'm an excellent big brother.
Okay, this is a very important question. What would you tell parents of young kids with autism who are wondering and confused about their child's future?
I would say, as long as you're there for them and in their corner, and as long as you don't take no for an answer, your child will have an excellent future, no matter what they choose to go into, because their differences don't defy them. And if people can't see that, then parents shouldn't give them the time of day, because they're the ones who are missing out on an amazing person.
Right, exactly. Now, I've seen parents who are struggle to get their child's IEP, and it happened with you, and it also happened, here where I work. Um, it's something that, I mean, sadly, a lot of parents will have to fight for. So, and I also think that it also depends on the school, and some schools just don't have the resource to support their children on the spectrum. So, in that case, what would you recommend?
I recommend and parents continue fighting. Like I said, don't take no for an answer. The school has responsibility, and that is to help all students, no matter what they're going through and no matter who they are. And by the school choosing not to have the resources or not making an effort to fund the resources,
Mhm.
they're not holding their end of the deal.
Yeah. And how about teachers? What advice would you give teachers?
Like I said, make the classroom as comfortable as possible, teach kindness, and make sure the IEP is being followed properly.
Gotcha. Yeah. This question, you make some of the points very clear. Looking back, like just reflecting back on your journey, what do you think parents should focus on to help their child grow?
I would say mainly being there for them and not taking no for an answer. There's a lot of people out there that will try to question your child's capabilities due to preconceived stereotypes. But it's the parents' responsibility to say, no, I know what my child is capable of, not you.
Yeah. Okay. So keep fighting, fighting for the service they need.
Absolutely.
And in terms of therapies, what do you think that um, a child on the spectrum needs in order to grow?
I would say mainly ABA therapy and occupational therapy and physical therapy in the schools can help too.
Okay. Did you receive any therapy in the school system?
The occupational and physical therapy was the therapy from the school system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the difference between OT and PT?
Physical therapy is, of course, physical exercise, I believe, and working on balance and the like. And I would say occupational therapy is mainly playing games. I don't know the full details of occupational therapy or how that works, but from what I remember, occupational therapy was mainly me playing games and learning social skills.
So for your ABA therapy, how many hours did you get per week?
As far as I remember, at least 20 hours. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And when did you stop ABA therapy?
As soon as I graduated high school.
Okay, so it sounds like from end of middle school to end of high school.
Pretty much. The reason it ended at the end of high school is because me and my family moved from Tennessee, where I had the ABA therapy, to Ohio so I could start college.
I see. So was it from the school? Was it in school ABA therapy, or was it like through a company?
It was through an independent company.
Oh, I see. Okay, so next sections, we're gonna talk about the future and your aspirations. How do you feel about your future? Are you confident you are gonna conquer a lot of your aspirations and the dreams that you are setting out for yourself?
I absolutely feel confident. I had a lot of aspirations initially, but I think now I want to work for an autism organization in some way, most likely IT. So things go full circle, if you know what I mean.
Things go full circle.
Yeah, I once got help from those organizations. Now I want to be a part of a mission giving help. That's what I mean by that.
Oh, I see. Did you get any support from Autism Speaks?
Yeah, they were one of them actually.
Okay. By the way, what is your major in college right now?
I'm a communications major.
Okay. And you mentioned that you wanted to work in IT?
I'm hoping to minor in technology. I'm taking a few tech classes currently this semester just because it's my belief that AI in the next 5 years will take over a lot of writing and PR positions and the like, and there will always be a need for people in the computer and technology industry.
Yeah, I believe that too. It's growing really fast.
I absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
And I'm actually very grateful for it too. It makes our work so fast, effective.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. That was actually my next question. What are your dreams and goals? And how do you see yourself making an impact in the world?
Well, for in the near future, sure, next month to be exact, I have a couple of columns that will be published. One in British Columbia Parenting Magazine, and another in Autism Spectrum News, actually. But in the distant future, I'm hoping to do a TED Talk, and eventually, once I establish myself in my career, turn 50 and I've had my fun, I'm hoping to run for political office in some way to help teach kindness and respect in this country.
Wonderful dreams. I wish you all the best of luck in that. And please keep in touch, okay?
I absolutely will.
Wonderful. How do you feel about this interview? Do you feel like you have shared what you really wanted to share?
I absolutely do. I've done a lot of these, and I think this one was my best one yet.
I can't wait to reach so many families with your story as well as your insight for navigating this precious autism journey.
That sounds perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Kadin, for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye, Kadin.